Welcome to Corks and Conversation with JD Allen.
Yes, Kathy, she's from my neck of the woods.
I know, but I am a little curious how she knows so much about Las Vegas, which is the setting for her Sin City investigation series.
Yes, we'll have to talk to her about that. But first, let me tell you a little more about her. J.D. Allen earned a degree in physical anthropology and creative writing minor from The Ohio State University. She's the author of the Sin City Investigation series, and she has short stories, including in several anthologies. Skin Game, the second book in her Sin City series, was nominated for a Seamus in 2020, which is a good award. And in the romance world, she's also published 11 books and novellas. On her Sin City books, Jeffrey Deaver, we all know him, New York Times bestselling author, said that wonderful and rare combination of high speed suspense and complex, richly drawn characters will keep you on the edge of your seat. So, how's that for a
Pretty
plug?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she's also the past chair of BoucherCon Convention National Board and past president of the Triangle chapter of Sisters in Crime. She is a member and current VP of the Florida chapter of MWA. And she moved to a lovely downsized home in St. Augustine, Florida, just in time to quarantine with her aging mom, 6 cats, and a grumpy Brit. So we need to pass her a drink. So,
Right?
JD, it's so nice to have you here with us today.
It's
Yes.
She's,
nice to be here and drinking at 5.
yeah,
Yay!
it's five
Cheers to
o'clock.
Cheers.
you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Ah,
Okay,
nice.
so this week JD chose the wine, one of our faves. She chose the 19 Crimes Cab. Christy and I both have the same bottle. Um, JD has a little bit of a different blend. What do you have?
I have the Cali Red, which is the Snoop Dogg signature version of 19 Crimes. Yeah, and it 19 Crimes kind of glorifies the guys who were a little bad but ended up being their own little, having their own good legacy on the community. And I think that kind of fits my main character Jim pretty well. I picked the original 19 Crimes for this. You see the first book in the series. There we go. Is 19 Souls, and that was my original title, was 19 Crimes. So
Oh,
I kind
really?
of,
Oh,
yeah,
so
I
that's
did.
interesting.
I kind of got the idea from the wine bottle,
That's
and
perfect.
it turns out the publisher who originally published that book had in the same catalog another book with the title Crimes in it, and that one was already in the catalog, so I had to change my title. This fits perfectly well, actually, but my little tie to the 19 Crimes wine will always be kind of in my heart for kicking off
Oh,
this
yeah.
series.
Perfect. Perfect connection.
Yeah, well,
And
it's
it
a
tastes
great
good.
choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this one, the Cali Red, is a little brighter. And I don't have it right here to compare, but going from memory, because
Well, the description of this is starts out with rich, bright red.
It
So it's
does.
pretty bright too, I
Yeah,
okay,
guess.
the
I guess
cab says it's a rich, bright red to crimson color.
That's just
Wine
the
has an
color.
intense nose with lifted vanilla aromatics balanced with red currants, violets, and mulberry fruits.
huh.
So very,
Now, see, this one, I guess, since it's Snoop's, we don't get into the wine a lot. It says 19 Crimes tells the story of rule breakers who beat the odds, overcome adversity, and went on to become folk heroes in their own society. So this one's about attitude. I kind of like that.
pretty
Okay.
cool.
You know what? I didn't realize
We
that,
don't care
Kathy.
what
Of
it
all the
tastes like. It's Snoop Dogg.
yeah, all the times that we've tried 19 Crimes, I always thought it was just a bunch of criminals. I didn't realize that they went on to um,
Actually, if
Notoriety.
you
Yeah.
there is a thing. There's a little scan code on there. The 19 Crimes was the original list of crimes that would have gotten you booted out of Europe and sent to the penal colony of Australia. So there was a list of 19 things that you could get ousted for,
oh,
and that's where the 19 Crimes came from.
wow.
I have to
I
keep
saw
changing glasses.
recently that Martha Stewart is on one of their labels, for I think it's called Martha Shard, like a Martha Chardonnay.
Well, they are buddies. Her and Snoop are buddies, right?
I know, it's pretty funny.
All right, so now that we've gotten our sips of wine,
Yes. Yum.
I want to start to talk about your book, Bricks and Bones. So first of all, tell everybody out there a little bit what it's about. And I kind of like the description that you had on your website, so I'm going to kind of start out with that because it's what do Jeffrey Dahmer's murderous glove, a brick from Lizzie Borden's fireplace, a girl missing for over a decade, and an old mob boss have in common? That's what PI Jim Bean must find out to solve his next case. So it's set in Las Vegas, like we said, and he's investigating missing memorabilia. Murderabilia. Yes. That's a new term. New term we're learning.
It's actually not. It's a thing. It's kind of a scary thing. And I actually, the thing that inspired the book is a piece of murderabilia, or one of the pieces of murderabilia that I own, which is a brick from Lizzie Borden's fireplace in her basement from when they tore the basement apart looking for the axe handles to test the blood.
And that's what they discuss in the book. So that's cool. Now we know they're.
So I own that brick. Dr. Kathleen Ramsland, who's a forensic psychiatrist that a lot of people know, spent the night here. Yeah, you make she's very
at some of the conferences.
She spent the night there one night, and they by herself in the dark in the basement of the Lizzie Borden house because she's just wacky like that. And she got this brick, so I bought it in one of the auctions at Writers Police Academy because one of those things I had to have. So when I was trying to come up with this book, and every time anything goes bad in my life and I put it on Facebook, Cathi always says, "It's the brick."
I know, like, where do you keep it? You might, I mean,
it's right there. My bookcase. My office is full of bookcases and junk, and if I turn it, you'll go. Ah! But my bookcase of nonfiction and kind of my forensic books and my psychiatry books and all that is directly. If I look, they have an L-shaped desk. If I look that way, so the brick sits right there. So I was talking to my friend Cheryl, who's also part of the board in Florida, and I was tossing some ideas around, and I said, maybe I can do some murderabilia things, so get the haunted museum in Vegas mixed up in it, and some old mob money or something. And the brick, hand of God, fell off the shelf.
Oh my gosh.
Fell off the shelf.
Oh,
Cheryl was on the Zoom with me, so I have a witness. So I said, okay, that's it. It's at least going to be bricks and something. And I also, you're going to make me show you now.
Both me and Kathy's mouths are wide open if you watch us on YouTube because we're like,
I also have a skull collection that's right there with that. So the bones fell, some of the bones fell.
And you are married and
I am
somebody
married.
Still lives in this house with you.
My mom lives in So again, I studied physical anthropology, which is, the study of bones, bricks and bones. So the skulls I have are not human because that would be illegal. But I did used to have a fascination with skulls. So I won't get into it. I ended up with a whole bunch of I have a badger skull. And
I am so glad that JD has decided to be a writer of fiction versus a true serial killer, which
okay, that's another story, but we'll I haven't read that one. Kathy's going,
oh my gosh, that's so funny. Oh wow.
Anyway, that started.
So that is interesting, and it is new to me. I don't know about you, Cathi, but I've never heard murderabilia, but now I'm sure I'm going to hear it all the time because that's how it works.
There is an online, not even online trade of murderabilia. One of Gillian Finn's books.
I think maybe the book was Dark Places.
Oh, that might be it. Yeah, that's it.
And when you got your murderabilia from a charity auction, so whatever. But do you know what the value of it is?
I
do not, and I don't even.
Yeah, you're not like you're not that level
I'm not in it
where
for
you're.
the business, and most people who buy the things really aren't. And a lot of the stuff is sold is for charity stuff, and like like the BTK stuff. People
Yeah,
will
yeah,
sell his
creepy.
signatures and stuff,
That's
and
just
all that.
grisly.
Well, I could see that happening too a lot in Las Vegas because crazy things happen in Las Vegas. Now, how did you end up writing or setting your books in Las Vegas? Did you live
I
there or?
love Las Vegas. No, my late husband, I was married previously, and I lost my husband at 40 to cancer.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
before he passed, he and I used to go to the National Finals Rodeo every year in Vegas, and we'd spend a lot of time there. Kind of back in the days where it was kind of changing from old Vegas to Disney Vegas, right? So that was the cusp of that. And we just loved the grittiness of it. And, we went, and I go once or twice a year. I go to Vegas. I've gone by myself. I've gone with girlfriends. I've gone with dates.
We'll go with you next time, right, Cathi?
I'm in love with Vegas. And every time I go, I find something. So this year when I went, I got to go when COVID had first dipped, like last May, right before it went right.
Yeah, right after you get the vaccine and you think, oh, everything's over, and before that came back.
And I had the idea going, so I went to Zach Babin's haunted museum there, which I'd not done before, and it's a lot of fun. But he has a lot of murderabilia in there as well, so I thought, well, I got to have that kind of character in here. So I made up my own haunted museum in Vegas and my own guy who's wrapped up in it. And then I thought, well, there's also a zombie burlesque show.
Oh my God. Okay.
I know, that's in the book too.
I have expanded my knowledge base greatly today.
It's to be of your service, ma'am. So the zombie burlesque thing is really more of kind of a touristy thing inside one of the big malls. But in my book, I gave it its own thing and a very storied history behind it, where the woman's mother was married to a mobster. So we end up with all this stuff going on, and I never have a simple plot. There's always a whole lot feeding in, and it takes a while to even for me to siphon it out. Sometimes this one was so funny that I had to do an extra edit, because when I sent them the description, I made the mistake of saying spookiness ensues. And the sales department's like, she can't do a paranormal. Like,
oh.
Paranormal. So I had to do like a 25-page extra outline to prove to them I was not having.
That's so funny.
My story.
And now she tells us about the brick falling in her house.
I know. I was like,
maybe there's a little
spookiness
paranormal.
That was real life, though.
Yeah, that's real life. Spooky. I love all these, crazy characters. But Jim Beam, gotta know how you came up with that name. There's got to be a story behind it, or how do you come up with your names?
Jim's is special, and it's an ongoing joke, right? Because in every book he introduces himself, and at least one character says "beam," like the whiskey, and he'll say in every single book he gives a different bean. No vanilla bean, or no Mexican jumping bean, and how someone reacts to it, he kind of judges where they are when he's trying to interrogate them. If they pay attention to it, if they get the joke, if they get mad at him for, or whatever, he uses that as part of it. The first in 19 Souls, there is a hint as to how he got that name, because that is not his birth name.
Oh.
It's kind of like a little Easter egg throughout
It is an Easter egg throughout all the books. He was based on a friend of mine who years ago was actually so Jim's background was that he was falsely accused of rape, tossed in prison, charged with rape, sexual assault, and battery, and it ruined his life. He was on his way to the FBI. He was doing all those things, and he did not do well, and he went straight to the bottle instead of to church or whatever. and ended up in Vegas. So that's his story of how he got to Vegas. And his story arc has been like in Skin Game, his fiance, who did not believe him when he said he did not do it, shows back up in his life. And he's forced to help her find her sister. So we get all that emotional drama of his in Skin Game. So that carries through. Now he's learned enough about all the other bad things that happen to people, and especially women, and he's kind of realizing that my pity party has gone on too long, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
but even so, I mean, you can read this book individually, even if you haven't gotten that background.
That stuff's kind of background, and I try to be really careful to make sure that if you even go, I don't get that, it's only like this much, right?
Right.
I don't dwell on it other than in Skin Game, but you could still read Skin Game before 19 Souls and be fine.
Okay, given our past conversation, Lizzie Borden's bricks falling off your shelves, pretty deep story in this thriller mystery. Where did romance come from?
Okay, so it's a story I like to tell, but it makes a lot of new authors really angry, because my first book I ever published, I wrote on accident. So I think I mentioned earlier that I had a husband that passed away. He had cancer. So I spent a lot of time, it was when I first started writing with the intent to earn money, and I was writing pretty dark stuff. But I had a really good romance writers group in the area in North Carolina where I lived, but there was not a mystery group. So I joined them, and I made a really good friend that I've been friend with for forever now. And she said, you need to write something light and fluffy just to get your head out of it. And she was writing erotic, male, historical romances.
Oh gosh, you're kidding me.
No.
What?
And I said,
it's not right what you know there either.
Yeah. No, I'm always on some weird end. So I'm like, what am I going to write? She said, just write something funny. And she said, my publisher's doing a call for short stories about weddings. So just write me, just for me, a short story, romance for weddings. And it was Christmas, and I had like 3 weeks. So I wrote this short story about a pug wedding, and the woman who was putting together the pug wedding and the man whose mother was doing it as a charity event got together, and we had happy pugs and a happy couple and yay romance, right?
Yay romance.
So I sent it, yay. Anyway, I sent it to my friend Nancy, and she said, this is hilarious. This is pretty good. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I needed a brain break. Well, she sent it to her publisher, who then called me. This was back in the days when they called you, right? And she said, can you make this a novella? And I said, you're going to pay me? She said, yes. I said, you're going to pay me to write? And she said, yes. So it turned out being a very a short novel romance thing. And 11 books later, I was like, guys, if I have to write another sex scene, I'm going to kill myself, if not somebody else. So I have to
back to her serial killer roots.
Back to my serial killer. It's a lot harder than you think. Just so you know, I would much.
We never doubted that.
And a bunch of fight scenes.
You don't know how hard we think it is, so it's probably not harder than we think. It's probably hard.
But so I ended up with an agent and a contract and all this stuff, and I was doing really well. And my agent's like, "Are you out of your mind?" And I'm like, "Well, shrimp fork to the eyeball. Okay, I can't do it." And so I lost my agent, and I had to start over. And I might have gone from auto mechanics to brain surgery, because the mystery then, the mystery world was like romance. Ooh, Right. So it took a long time. It took 4 years to get another agent and a contract and start all over. And now it's 6 books later. But
you seem like you're a really fast writer too.
Pardon?
You seem like a very fast writer as well, because you said you just went last May to Las Vegas, and you've already incorporated your research into the book.
I originally published this series with a publisher named Midnight Inc., who was unfortunately one that didn't make it. And I had the first 2 were out with that. And Severn River picked them up, and they wanted 4 more books, but they wanted 2 a year.
Wow.
So I had to very quickly learn to be a fast writer. I was very, especially since I'm dyslexic, I was really worried about that because I have to take out of that 6 months, I have to give a month to an editor that I pay to go through it and kind of, I call it get the dyslexia out, clean it up. So I really am now writing a book every 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drink to that.
Yeah. I was gonna say, on that note, we need to take a drink. And I think it's time for our midway question, Christy.
Can I have the whole bottle?
Yes.
Oh, yes. You can do whatever you want. All right. Okay, so this is our question in the bottle. Because, when you get to the bottom of the bottle, so keep drinking and we'll see how you answer. Okay. Anyway, let's see. Oh, what fictional character would you most like to be friends with?
Friends. Okay.
It has to be fictional. Like, you can't be like Lizzie Borden.
I know,
or something.
but you're saying friends, not date, right?
You could do whatever you want because guess what? It's all make believe. We can do whatever we want. And honestly, if you want to be that kind of friends.
And I'm digging on the new Reacher in the Reacher series, so I could be his friend.
Oh, that's a nice friend to have. Yeah.
He's not really into friends, I don't think so much, but that's a good answer.
Friends with benefits. So what about you, Cathi?
Me?
Yeah.
Gabriel Alon from Daniel Silva's.
Oh, of course.
He's my favorite.
Yeah.
No. How about you, Christy?
That's too hard for me to say, I think. Yeah. I really can't say. I like a lot of different fictional characters.
I know.
I think I live too much in a fictional world. I like Amos. And when you were saying like, your favorite ones from some of the books that you like, and I like Amos Decker from Baldacci's books, right? But he's an odd guy, but I still think he would be a fun friend to have. Right. Not necessarily friends with benefits kind of friend, just kind of like a...
I was just on that train of thought since we were talking about romance. Jeff Deaver was very gracious to give me a quote. He's from North Carolina as well, and I was very lucky to have him part of my early writing career in mystery. So any of his characters would be awesome to hang out with as well.
Yeah, whole Lincoln Rhyme maybe.
Well, Lincoln would be awesome. He's got Lincoln would be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk writing conferences, you guys.
Okay.
We're so excited. Christy and I are excited to be going to a couple this summer. Everything's opening back up. I saw that obviously you were past chair at VoucherCon, which I can't imagine the work involved. How did you get into doing that? And tell us what your thoughts are.
Kind of like the way I got into romance.
This friend made her do it, in other words.
No, the Sisters in Crime chapter, was like, they're having this big mystery conference here, which I had not been to before, and they need volunteers. And of course, I don't know how to not raise my hand when it's volunteer time. I'm trying to get better at that, but I don't do so well. So I went into the volunteer meetings and they, asked for, there was a couple of things that were a little complicated, and I went ahead and said, I'll be happy to take care of that. And about a month later, the person who was chair was no longer going to be chair. And since I had already taken over the two biggest projects, I was asked to take over a conference of 1,600 people that I had never even attended.
And where was that one?
Raleigh. That was in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay. So that makes sense.
I had some help from some former chairs that kind of showed up and said, okay, this is what you have to do, and this is what we'll do. And, so I was kind of co-chair, vice chair, whatever you want to call it. But, I was then when you run a VoucherCon, you end up on the board of VoucherCon for a certain amount of years. So you're you sign on for a kind of a long term with that conference when you sign on to do it. So then I ended up being chair of the board of VoucherCon for my 2 years there. So that was a lot of work. I would have never been able to write 2 books a year while still doing that, because that is a huge amount of work, and the people who do that work to put these conferences on, both Sleuth Fest, ours, which is coming up in July, and in South Florida, which is one of my favorites. It was one of the first ones I went to.
That's where Cathi and I met, and that's how we got started. Yes, so we're big proponents. We've gone for every year ever since then. But
I started being a huge conference fan, even back in the romance days, which are, romance conferences are very different. There's cover models running around and all kinds of stuff like that.
There's what?
Cover models.
Oh.
So they have some of the cover models that are on.
I think I'm going to take up romance.
Right.
Romantic Times was the big one, and I think it's kind of, unfortunately, I don't know how much they've survived, because it was run by a magazine, the Romantic Times magazine, so I'm not sure what's doing. Heather Graham puts on a big one, a vampire one, a romance novel conference in New Orleans, where most of her romance books are set. Anyway, so
and there's different. What? I'm sorry.
I have been called a conference hoe before.
Oh, okay.
Because I love my conferences.
Well, and there are differences between, because BoucherCon and SleuthFest are two completely kind of different writing conferences.
BoucherCon is a readers conference. It's really a convention. It's the BoucherCon convention. It's a readers convention.
So it's great for authors to get together and meet each other and sell their books, but it's not for writers to go and take workshops and learn. It's for fans to go and see their favorites, right?
Yes and no. I would say yes, it is. It's a great place for fans to go, but I always feel like when I am around other writers, especially writers I look up to or even learning new things about, when I go to their panels and I sit and listen, I either get hugely energized by their energy and their just learning about their experiences in their writing, or I actually learn some craft even when I'm not planning on it. So it's not a place you're going to pitch to agents or you're going to do that kind of thing. But
Cathi and I are going to BoucherCon this year.
We are.
Yes.
And we've never been. I'm very excited to go to it.
I'm looking forward to this one.
It's in Minneapolis, which is close for Cathi. That's where she was closest from. Yeah, that's where she practiced law.
I'm in South Dakota, so it's like a 4-hour drive for me. And I used to live in Minneapolis, so I'm very familiar, and I'm very excited about that.
Good. I'll see. Well, hopefully I'll see it. Are you coming down to Sleuth Fest?
Oh, yes, we're coming down to Sleuth Fest. I'm coming down. Kristen's just going.
Yeah.
Not hard.
I'm going up to Sleuth Fest.
And then we've been talking about going to Thriller Fest as well, which we also love. So we're
there as well.
Ripping the stay-at-home Band-Aid off big time this summer.
We're going to join you in hoeing ourselves to the different conferences.
I'm going to turn just and let you see a little bit of my crap. In the corner, these are my conference badges hanging on the wall there.
Oh, wow. Yeah. See, Kathy's so organized. She tosses them before she leaves. I have them.
I'm not a keeper.
Yeah,
I'm not a keeper.
I got a lot of bags.
That's the only thing. I don't keep the bags. I always use the bags for donating clothes and stuff around, but because I always feel like somebody needs the bag as much as anything else. But I always keep the badges. Some of my romance badges are in there. My Writers Police Academy.
Oh.
Now, if you're a
almost
writer,
making me wish I had kept them.
If you're a writer and you really want to get dead on with your police procedural stuff or anything to do with real life stuff, Writers Police Academy is way up.
We went. Cathi and I went there. Yes, we went there a few years ago when it was up at in Green Bay
Wisconsin.
Or whatever.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Oh my gosh, it was
we
great.
We probably met there. So you will not be surprised to know that started in North Carolina, and I was
part of that got you started.
Comes back to.
Well, I've spent. I'm a Carolina girl, sorta too.
Are you?
I went to Chapel Hill, and I was just. That's why I'm a little tired because recently we were playing very late for the conference.
Yes, you
were. And I lived in the mountains as well for a while. So
I was.
Hey, you guys, let's take another sip. We've got a final question for JD.
I'm running my mouth. Sorry.
Oh, I know. Kathy's a busy girl. She's trying to keep us on task.
I am trying to keep us on task.
So, Okay, before we go, we always ask one final question to appease our mysterious foodies out there. And this is the question. Which of your characters would you like to share a meal with, and what would it be?
Oh, wow. That's super hard.
I know, you got a lot to choose from.
I do. I think Eli, my crazy ex-Vietnam vet guy, maybe at like a fusion Korean restaurant, because he would know everything about all that stuff and I wouldn't know a thing I was eating, but it would all be absolutely awesome.
Would that be in
Yeah,
Las
that
Vegas
sounds
then, I
really
take
good.
it?
Pardon?
Would that be in Las Vegas then?
If I had a chance for Eli in Vegas, that would be pretty awesome.
This is our fantasy. We can have it wherever we want.
Right? Okay,
That's
so
awesome.
JD, when our listeners want more information about you, where should they go to find it?
jdallenbooks.com.
Awesome.
Or JD Allen Books is there's a very famous jazz saxophonist named JD Allen, so I had to put books at the end of everything. So JD Allen Books, you're gonna find me.
All right. That should be good. All right. So I think really the main thing that we have to do is, say cheers to Breaking Bones, and cheers to you. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.